and it failed to improve. The yellow jersey of Alaphilippe is up front. This is George Bennett. Big help for Steven Kruijswijk. His main man is still part of this group just up ahead. You can see the yellow and black tucked in, not that far from the yellow jersey itself. And indeed, others who flew yesterday, like Nairo Quintana, potentially just struggling. We'll wait and see. He has this habit of getting back into it, but a couple of bike lengths count for a lot at this kind of altitude. Great work as well, I have to say, by the polka dot jersey. Romain Bardet, who did drop out of the group, is now back in it, and I guess driven on by potential of getting more mountains points. And Quintana looks like he's cracking as well, Sean, after the efforts of yesterday.
Yes, well, anybody who was out in the break yesterday made the effort you can pay for today, and we can see there's a lot of riders starting to get into difficulty, notably George Bennett from team Jumbo-Visma, very impressive in the Pyrenees stages, and we can see from the yellow jersey, the man who Alaphilippe would be depending on to stay with him a long ways, Enric Mas, in difficulty. So it's starting to really hit here. We can see this leading group. It's a small, very small number of riders left in the group of overall contenders for this win in this Tour de France.
They're only 34 seconds down now, and Bardet maintains his pace here. The King of the Mountains jersey wearer, number 31. Well, just look back through this group, and you can see Mikkel Landa as well, just tucked in there behind Kruijswijk. We haven't really spoken too much about Manny Bookman, and look at the face here of Alaphilippe. He's absolutely emptying himself. He needs to stay with these guys, but for the time being, Ineos haven't imposed themselves. Still 6.4 kilometers until we get to the top. 2 zones of hurt along the way, and the next real tough challenge comes in about 2 kilometers time. It could happen at any time, but Alaphilippe may well just hang on here. Let's see how he goes. I think for neutrals, they're certainly hoping that's the case. And in fact, all around the technical zone here, everybody downcast at the news of Thibaut Pinot and those pictures of him crying and going out of this race. Meanwhile, this breakaway had high hopes at the beginning of the day, on the highest day of this Tour de France. And I'm afraid the peak looks like it's done for them as well. Wherever there are peaks, there are troughs, Sean, and we've had enough of those today.
Yes, well, we have a lot of them today, and we can see here in the main peloton the way the riders are suffering, and we can see the riders that are getting dropped out of this breakaway, this big breakaway of the day. We can see Reichenbach from Groupama FDJ, who was up the road there for Alaphilippe in the earlier part, I would reckon, but of course not for Alaphilippe, for Pinot, sorry. And yeah, riders like that losing contact, that tells you how difficult this is becoming on the climb here in the breakaway and here in the peloton, as we see Geraint Thomas starting to push on.
Yes, Thomas has gone, and Bernal went over the other side. Didn't want to offer up a chase, and indeed now he's going to tuck in, and I reckon going to go as an anchor on the back wheel of Alaphilippe, and that's precisely the position he's taken it up. It's Bora that are driving into this one, and this is the first real test. We said that the higher inclines were just about to come to us, and Geraint Thomas decides that this is time to make his move. 11% you're looking at the moment, and he's looking at a gap at the moment, and he's not seeing Alaphilippe, who's now stuck behind Landa, weaving all over the place, and Bernal just goes onto the wheel of Alaphilippe and stays there. This is Bardet in the polka dot jerseys, but around as part of that breakaway is still looking lively, as indeed is Warren Barguil. But oh my goodness, it could be a terrible day for French riders if Bardet, imagine, hands over the polka dot jersey, and others are going to get involved here. Steven Kruijswijk goes for it, and indeed this is going to offer up some assist or indeed cheer. He's going to have an ally here, Geraint Thomas, but can't bridge over to him just for the time being. He's setting his own pace, which they're of course famous for doing, Team Ineos, in their former incarnation as Team Sky. And here is Alaphilippe. He's got no teammates around him, and he's got a devil on his shoulder here in the form of EGAN Bernal. Yes. Oh, he's going round him.
You can see Bernal is starting to push on here, and we can see Alaphilippe is starting to lose the wheels here in difficulty as the other general classification men just slowly go away from him.
Oh, Bernal's left him, says thinks to himself there's no point staying here, and Landa's dropping Alaphilippe right now. Oh, forlorn day for France. Famously that headline, c'est perdu, and everything could be exactly that. Lost today. We've lost Pinot, and this could be Alaphilippe losing the lead of this race. Well, there's a lot of it still to be had, and he's a great battler, and that's what he's doing right now, Sean. But he's 5.5 kilometres from the peak of the Col d'Iseran, and at the moment, he's looking ragged.
Yes, well, he is, and further down, because we can see 26 seconds for the breakaway out front and 5.4 for the breakaway, but a little bit further down here for the group of Alaphilippe, and you can see he's starting to lose ground here with Richie Porte just setting the pace in front of him, and you can see the other riders just in the distance here. And yeah, this is the climb, I think, where they had to try and put him in difficulty, but yeah, it's a different situation to yesterday. We see Alaphilippe getting into trouble in the final kilometres. 1.5 kilometres from the summit. Now we're more than 5.2 kilometres out from the top. This is going to be difficult for Alaphilippe to limit his losses.
Certainly is, but the time at the moment still favours Alaphilippe. Well, it's going to have a big price to pay. Mühlberger just ebbing ever so slightly here, and the attack just continues to roll through, and Bernal comes to the fore here and paces it up, clearly working for Geraint Thomas here, who now has an ally, and it could be the old 1-2. Now we remind you that Alaphilippe's advantage over Bernal was 90 seconds, and at the moment 17 only. He's holding on, Sean. That's got to be a much bigger gap by the time they get to the top, because he can make up ground on the descent. We've seen it if he gets there with a more modest margin than perhaps the guys up front are hoping to impose on him.
Yes, well, we did see yesterday that he made up ground on the descent, but still the distance to the top of this one is going to be interesting here, and we can see that, yeah, it's just exploding all over the place, which we were expecting on this real difficult climb. And you know, we're still over 5 kilometres out for the break, for the peloton, the breakaway, the remains of the breakaway. Some of the riders still just up there, but yeah, it's all blowing apart here.
Bernal's gone, and he's eating up the breakaway here, and more than that, he's got the legs, I think, to impose himself on Alaphilippe. The question is, has Geraint Thomas? He's in this group here. He's with Manny Bookman. He's with Kruijswijk. Here's Valverde having a look back at the moment. Oh, all hell's breaking loose. My goodness, they'll be ringing the bells down in the valleys a little bit later on if Alaphilippe manages to grind up this one. And here we are, 31 seconds in arrears, and it's Bernal who feels like he has the legs. Maybe there's been the briefest of instructions or conversation within Team Ineos as to the best man. The best man will win, but we don't know who it is yet, Sean.
No, well, they're just trying to put as much time into Alaphilippe as possible here, and that's the reason they are pushing on, and we see Bernal just pushing on a bit more there, and yeah, they have to really, you know, push on big time on this and see how much they can take. As we can see, Bernal is pushing on in this group here. He's just caught up with Nibali and a number of the men from the breakaway, and then we can see Kruijswijk here, who had his teammate up front who is securing the pace for him at the moment on the front of that little group with Geraint Thomas.
Well, this very select group of potential stage winners now includes potential overall winner EGAN Bernal. Here's Geraint Thomas riding as he does with Kruijswijk and Laurens de Pruis, who's dropped back. Clever work potentially here, because Bernal goes up. Thomas then sits behind Kruijswijk, who has to work, and so does this man. 36 seconds now down, but look at that. It's not a margin on Thomas, but at the head of the course is Bernal. He's found 36 seconds, and we've still got 4.2 kilometres to go. Now, the margin again is 90 seconds, a minute and a half between Alaphilippe and Bernal. Once we get over the top, can Alaphilippe save his race by getting back in? And what will he have left? That's the other question, Sean. Up to the Monte de Tignes, maybe that mountain won't favour him quite so much because of the effort he's having to put in here. This is about saving the Tour for France.
Yes, well, it's all about saving the Tour here for Alaphilippe, and he has, you know, the challengers all behind him, you know, who started out this morning. Bernal, Thomas, Kruijswijk, Bookman, they're all up there ahead, and they're going to, you know, start pushing on when they get onto the descent. And yeah, Alaphilippe is going to do it all on his own. That's the difficult one, and we're still quite a number of kilometres at the top, but Alaphilippe has recovered well. You know, he just got into his rhythm there, and it looked like he was going to really blow, as he did yesterday as well, but just got it together again, started making his pace, and He's holding, but still the front guys are just moving away slowly.
Yes, look at it. Look at the kilometres, the meters, I should say, counting up for Bernal and against Alaphilippe. 336, 342. And look at the difference in pace. I know they're on different parts of the mountain, and this is a flatter section here with 3.5 to go. Only 4.3%, but they are pacing into this one. It's virtually a mountain sprint with Bernal leading those hopefuls from the original breakaway, and that little section of easement is now being hit by these guys, and they find some more pace, but likewise so does Alaphilippe, who's struggling within this group just to find a little bit of calm before the storm rages again as we kick up to the very peak. It's going to be about 2.8 kilometres remaining until we get to the top, but how much more time will he lose, and indeed how much is retrievable on the descent, where we know Alaphilippe can excel. He passes that 4 kilometres to go marker. Bernal's only got, he's nearly a kilometre ahead. It's remarkable. Here's Bardet just, I'm afraid, peddling squares as he drops back out of that group of favourites and beyond as well. There's the time for you, Sean, at the moment. 50 seconds, still not enough for Bernal just yet. How much extra above the 1.5 minutes do you think Bernal has to have on Alaphilippe to stay away from him on the descent to the foot of the Monte de Tignes?
Well, that's a very difficult question, because 30 kilometres almost of descending. The first part descends very fast, but then the final 10 kilometres not as fast descending, and it's going to be a difficult one. But we can see here with Alaphilippe, he has two riders, one from Ineos Pools, he have one from Movistar Amador. They're not going to do anything, they're just going to sit in his wheel. We can see the rider from Wanty Gobert, Guillaume Martin, he's just taking a little bit of a pull with Alaphilippe there, but other than that he's going to have to do it all on his own. And we're still that bit from the top. How much will he have at the top? Depending on how much an effort you have to make, because on the descent, if you really go into the red zone, well then on the descent you're going to have to be careful. But Alaphilippe, we know he's a brilliant descender. I think there is time to get back, but we have them, the finish up here to Tignes. That is going to be a difficult one, because when you really suffer on this climb, well then you're going to suffer again on the final climb to the finish.
Just looking at the virtual classification here, it bounced down. Alaphilippe's making up ground. He's gone into tempo mode here. He's a master time trialist, as of course he showed us in that run to Po, spectacularly winning that day by a handsome margin ahead of Thomas and De Gent. He's got more cuddly lions than anyone else, and that means that he's been in the jersey for such a long time. But will he be at the end of today? For the time being, at least, they haven't shaken him off. And with that huge descent that we've got, that Sean was talking about, that takes us to the foot of the Monte de Tignes, then you've got to believe in Alaphilippe. He believes in himself. He's pacing back into this one. He's having to work from his own group. Meanwhile, Bernal is having to work in his as well, as you can see. And Geraint Thomas is making his way back up here. Only 14 seconds in arrears. That's the group with Alaphilippe now. 1:09 down, and all of a sudden that gap has jumped from 50 odd seconds to 1:10, 1:11. Soon, Bernal is going to be the virtual leader of this race. 1,700 metres to go. 1.6 kilometres now as the tachograph just clicks by, and I'm afraid that that is Nibali's day done. And indeed, Oran looks like he's struggling as well, as this man, Warren Barguil, proving that there are many cards to play in France, but maybe it's not the one that France wants to play today. 38.9 kilometres to go in 1:13 now. Bernal is 17 seconds away, 16 now from taking the virtual lead. That's the margin, I should say. It'll take him a little bit longer than that to get there, but will he? It certainly looks that way at the moment. 1:15 from behind the leader out there at the moment on course, which is Bernal, sits Alaphilippe. And indeed now you're starting to look at others in the virtual classification who'll be thinking about top 10s out there. Quite remarkable. Here's Alaphilippe. No French, you might say. Well, he's got Guillaume Martin sitting behind him, who tried his level best to give him a turn. But Alaphilippe, 1:18 now, and it's going against him. 11 seconds. It's like counting down to an old Apollo launch, for goodness sake. And the man who's heading skyward seems to be Bernal. And Thomas isn't out of this one either. Tempoing back up, but with the favour, I think, of Jumbo-Visma. Kruijswijk and indeed Laurens de Plus doing a great job of dropping back to help him. And here we are, Simon Yates sitting on the back wheel of Bernal, and they power on here, 6 seconds in arrears now.
Yes, well, we can see that it's Bernal is really pushing on here, and Geraint Thomas looked like he was going to come back there. I think it was about 14 seconds at one point. We can see 21 seconds at the moment, but yes, Alaphilippe is struggling here. 1:24. It's just going out all the time here, and he's the one who has to do all here on the riding. We can see that group of Geraint Thomas. It's de Plus who is riding for Kruijswijk, of course, and he's doing a great job. So in the meantime, Geraint Thomas is getting carried along here, and we can see it's really difficult times for the race leader Alaphilippe.
Well, more help coming back to Geraint Thomas and potentially Egan Bernal if they need it. Just 2 seconds in arrears, Bernal, as they stand on the mountain. In 1 second, he's about to take the virtual lead as Alaphilippe starts to struggle here. Bernal is up towards the top. They're absolutely dead level, and Bernal has gone to the head of the virtual standings as it is now, but this day is far from over. Alaphilippe's got to get to the top. He's got 30 kilometres, a little bit less than that, of descending, about 11 full-on kilometres, maybe indeed as much as 13, I beg your pardon, to get back in. We know he's an amazing descender. He showed that yesterday. But for now, Bernal is taking control of this day, and Simon Yates, I think all his Christmases have come at once here. He, of course, thinking of getting a hat-trick of stage wins in this race, and why wouldn't he? 38.4 kilometres to go. We're nearly at the top, Sean, and then they'll get some easement. But Geraint Thomas is only 33 seconds behind, and he himself finds himself more than a minute up on Alaphilippe today.
Yes, well, we can see there that Bernal is still pushing on, and Yates is the only one from the breakaway that has managed to hang on to Bernal here as he sets a real strong pace, and he is setting a very, very strong one, 33 seconds, so it's grown out slowly back to that group of Geraint Thomas and Kruijswijk, and it's still the man Laurens de Plus setting the pace here on the front, and you can see Alaphilippe another couple of seconds there, lost 1:34 down. It's going to be an interesting descent, but I think for Alaphilippe it's grown out to be too much of a big advantage here time-wise for him to come back on the descent, and if he does come back, he's going to have to make that huge effort. He's guaranteed, I think, to pay on the final climb if ever he sees the men challenging for the win in this Tour de France.
Egan Bernal has something that appears to be a lifetime contract with Ineos, and you can understand why he was such a big prospect and they signed him so deep into the future. But it's the future is now, by the looks of things, and he is doing a job, and it's 1:40, and Bernal is the virtual leader of this race. The question is, can he sustain it? He's on his own. He could do with a little bit of help deeper into this one, but he's in his pomp, it appears, at the moment. Still, Alaphilippe has got ground and time to make up. Let's wait and see. 38.2 kilometres from home, 1:40 up on Alaphilippe, and Bernal has managed to drop Simon Yates. Such is his urgency, Sean, to get over the top first here and put some, something back into his legs for the final test up to Monte de Tignes. It's still not decided by a long way, this.
No, it's not decided at all, and on the top of this one, of course, there's the time bonification as well, so Egan Bernal is going to pick up that 8 seconds time bonus at the top of this climb, but it's a long way to the finish. We still have 37.5 kilometres from the top of the climb to the finish here, so it's a long one, and the group behind, let's not forget, there's a number of riders there. De Plus, Kruijswijk, they're going to ride. Bookman will probably ride as well. So for Bernal, it's going to be a big one for him to ride all the way down this ascent of 30 kilometres and then 7 kilometres of climb here to the finishing team.
I've just got the feeling he'll sort of happily be collected by the chasers, but not, of course, by Alaphilippe. Let's wait and see how much he has in hand by the time he gets done with this descent. It's the flat section I worry about, that before he dips down to the foot of the mountain that he's got to deal with, because then essentially he's got a time trial on his own he could do with company. He may well have Simon Yates with him that could offer him up a turn as you look back on the switchback here, but it's like a switch has been thrown here, Sean, and Bernal is in charge. He's bossing the day.
Yes, well, he's proved that he is the better of the GC men. In the Alpine stage, we see him yesterday again when he attacked out of that group of big favourites. He was the only one who was able to ride away from them, and he's doing exactly the same today. Now the question is, is he going to try and time trial all the way on this 30 kilometres downhill and then attack the final climb of the day, or will he be able to knock it off? That's a tactic, yes, they will have to look at, but it's a complicated one at the moment as we see Alaphilippe. He is going to, difficult to see him getting back to the favourites.
Well, a lot of lateral movement in the front wheel of Alaphilippe as he just starts to roll the shoulders. His core strength just started to ebb away from him. It's the same for everybody. Even Bernal is not as tidy as he usually is on a bike as he comes up here, just about to get over the top here, Sean.
Yes, we can see Bernal is just about to get to the top here. It'll be interesting as we come to the top, because we did see that Alaphilippe looks like the timing there that he's coming back, but it's difficult to believe because we can see the group there that Geraint Thomas is in. They seem to be going at a good pace, but again, Alaphilippe looks like he's doing okay.
Well, you say that, but he's just bounced back to 2 minutes and 3 seconds. The time's working against him at the moment. Meanwhile, these guys take on some sustenance. Bit of a duck there under an extended Jumbo arm for Geraint Thomas. Not too concerned about that. The fans are out in force here, but the French fans won't be liking what they're going to see here. 2 minutes and 1. He's finding a couple of seconds, Alaphilippe, but it's a late flurry for him as he gets to the top. He needs to go over the top and find, well, as much time as he possibly can. He's 33 seconds down in the virtual classification, so if he finds half a minute, if he finds 40 seconds, he'll be back in the virtual overall lead. But on the day, he's 2 minutes and 4 down, and he's still climbing while his enemies here are busy.